we're going to do something a little bit different, kind of diamonds in the rough, but kind of not, calling it RJ's top 5 dudes. These are men who have demonstrated themselves over the course of week 1 to be an absolute dude, a man you don't want no truck with, a man for which it does not matter that you know that he is going to be the guy that gets the ball and still gets the ball and makes you look silly with the ball in his hands. It is skewing offensive because that is what caught my eye. As a purveyor of the sport and a person tasked with having an opinion about 130 FBS teams at any given time, at any point in the future, I always take note of a person that I know about or thought I knew about who has shown himself to be a dude. All right. First on this list for me, Central Michigan quarterback Daniel Richardson. Daniel Richardson went 36 of 49, 424 yards passing with 4 TDs and a pick against the 12th ranked team in the entire country. Chippewas, be excited. DR can absolutely get after it. Very excited to see what Chippewas look like come December. We all know what Oklahoma State is capable of. And if this is any indication, yeah, Central Michigan, you're going to be on it this season. All right. Next on this list for me is Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones, a guy that I knew about at Iowa last year, but I knew about him, like most of you, as a return specialist. He was one of the better return specialists for punt and kick return in the entire country, but Iowa doesn't have an identity crisis. And part of their identity is wide receivers are for blocking. That's what wide receivers, they are linemen out on numbers. That's what you do at Iowa. So they had what I think is white chocolate out there and just didn't throw him the ball. Meanwhile, Jeff Brom says, you know what we do at Purdue? You know all we do at Purdue? You know what our identity is, Purdue? We air that mug out, okay? I have an 8-string walk-on quarterback who is going to go 4,000 yards. You want some? Charlie Jones said, I would like some. Yes, I would. I'm going to have you rooming with that quarterback, and y'all are going to form a bond. And y'all are going to show up against Penn State, and you're going to catch 12 passes for 153 yards and a TD. Didn't win the game, but Charlie Jones turned himself into a dude. Also, all you media types that listen to this show, every time you say Chuck Sizzle out loud, I'm going to demand that you cut my man Gus Johnson a check. Okay? That man nicknames a player, and y'all pick it up and run with it and don't credit him. Okay? It's one of the gems of this sport. Give my man his flowers. You say Charlie Jones like I say Charlie Jones, and you leave Chuck Sizzle to Gus Johnson. All right, next on this list for me, coming out of the Backyard Brawl, which was a fantastic affair. Glad that that game is back on because it matters. West Virginia running back, ? C.J. Donaldson. Now, C.J. Donaldson was listed as a tight end before the kickoff of the Backyard Brawl, where West Virginia narrowly loses to number 17 Pittsburgh. And then I checked the next morning to be like, okay, did they change his position? Because he had 7 carries for 125 yards against Pittsburgh in the Backyard Brawl. And as of Friday morning, my man was still listed as a tight end. All of 6'2", 240 pounds. Is an absolute unit back there. And I don't know who's going to want to tackle him. I think C.J. Donaldson is going to be an absolute problem at 7.5 yards deep behind J.T. Daniels come Big 12 season. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Next on this list for me, a dude that I kind of knew was a dude and then demonstrated himself to be a dude. This would be North Carolina quarterback Drake Maye, who popped onto the scene first by committing to Alabama in the 2021 class and then flipping his commitment to UNC and Mac Brown. The last time that Mac Brown made that high caliber of a quarterback flip, name was Sam Howell, and he changed the program for good. Okay? Same thing seems to be happening with Drake Maye. Drake Maye showed out against what I think is a really good Florida A&M program that, as we're recording right now, is playing in the Orange Blossom Classic against number 17 Jackson State, and I'm excited to see how that one ends. But against Appalachian State, Drake Maye went 24 of 36 for 352 with 4 tutties, 76 rush yards. That's 5 total TDs in a game that they won 63-61. UNC is 2-0 and averaging 59.5 points per game with Drake Maye, who's just back there slinging it. Like, it's one thing to see a guy who will go through his mechanics, set his feet, and drop a dime. Drake Maye is so good that I'm watching some Mahomes flipping accuracy, which is to say his body is not even pointed toward the target, and he's able to just whip that thing like David does a slingshot at Goliath's forehead right where it's supposed to go. Drake Maye is an absolute dude. Last guy on this list for me, coming out of the Big Ten, Mike Locksley's own Maryland, showed up with Roman Hemby against Buffalo and decided, no, we have a tailback to match our quarterback. His name is Roman Hemby. Went 7 carries for 114 yards and a TD against Mo Linguist's Buffalo. Also, shout out to having 2 black head coaches in an opener, one at Buffalo, one at Maryland. Very excited about that. And I think Maryland might be disruptive in the Big Ten as much, I hope, as Rutgers is, because Rutgers and Maryland both got wins this weekend. Rutgers gets a dramatic win against Boston College by a point. Shout out to the Fighting Shadows in New Brunswick in Piscataway. Now, for this Maryland team to be great, I think you're going to have to keep a lid on the defense. I know what you can do offensively. I know what kind of offensive play caller Mike Locksley is. But I'm excited for what's in store for the rest of this college football season if this week 1 is any indication. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.